The sun is shining and Brands Hatch is about to echo to a mighty grid of something like 46 cars for the GT4 European Series Race 1. Morning everybody, welcome to what promises to be a very busy race indeed. Yesterday, 2 free practice sessions, a very hectic qualifying period split into the 2 parts to determine the 2 race grids. And it is a stellar entry. You've got ex-Formula 1 drivers, you've got some stars of GT racing, some AMs, the next generation of GT star in, for example, pole sitters, both Stuart Middleton and Will Tregertha, who won the second race at Zolder. And we are in for a cracking race. And in fact, so big is the entry that a new problem has arisen for the organisers of the championship, and that is 46 cars into the Brands Hatch pit lane is almost too many. And so, rather quirkily, there are 3 pit windows that we're going to have for the 3 classes. So rather than everybody coming in within 1 window, there are 3 pit windows staggered depending on whether you're in the Silver Cup, Pro-Am or Am. We'll worry about that when we get into the body of the race. David Addison trackside, so too lots of fans currently looking at the supercar lineup, the back of the grandstand, and if they turn their attentions to the track, then they will see this huge grid pouring out, ready to do the installation lap round onto the grid. The race itself is going to be of 60 minutes duration, and with mandatory pit stops, the cars will slot into place very shortly, and then we will be in business for what promises to be a very hectic race indeed. And it's a British team, HHC Motorsport on pole position, the Ginetta, fastest in both sessions yesterday. This pole position courtesy of Stuart Middleton, but because the car is so quick around here, the BOP has been changed overnight, 35 extra kilos added and 10 millimetres up on the ride height. Now, the team, understandably, not terribly pleased about that. The point being that we know Brands Hatch very well as a team. We've raced here a lot. The drivers have raced here quite a lot. We've got the data, so that's why we're quick. It's not down to the fact that the Ginetta is so much faster than anybody else. It's just that we've got all the data and doing a good job. So, inevitably, in the saga of BOP, somebody feels that they are being unfairly affected. We'll see whether it really does affect matters hugely during the course of the race. But if the Ginetta drops away, you could suggest that it is down to this BOP change. Other drivers and teams have been in strife overnight, not necessarily with BOP, but with penalties. One rather significant one being the McLaren 570S of Joe Osborne. David Patterson did the time, but that car failed the ride height, so it goes to the back of the grid for both races because you can't scrutineer after Q1. There's only a few minutes break, so if you're done after Q2, stands to reason that you're out of Q1 as well. 1 or 2 others were disqualified for ride height. The Ginettas on Stefan Tribodini and the other Ginetta from the same team, in fact, CMR of Eric Mouet. And Stephen Patrick, the British driver who's raced in club races on the continent, he also got a 5-pace grid drop for contact. So quite a lot to keep the stewards busy into the wee small hours last night. And the grid is now starting to take shape. It's a busier Brands Hatch we have today than yesterday, as the field now starts to work its way down towards the starting grid. You look there at number 61, one of the many different brands on the grid from Academy Motorsport, the Aston Martin Vantage GT4. This car started by Dennis Strandberg, a name familiar if you follow the UK-based Volkswagen Racing Cup. He's a Swedish driver, but Dennis Strandberg has had lots of success in that with Stuart Lyon's Maximum Motorsport team and did drive for Stuart in the British Touring Car Championship at Croft last year. So Dennis Strandberg is another young gun, one to watch, I suspect, as the race wears on. As they're trickling into position is number 112 BMW. This car started by Miguel Cristobal, and Pavel Lefterov will take over for the second stint. Lefterov, who was given a behavioural warning point penalty yesterday for an incident. There's one car that's still in the pit lane. We've got 10 minutes to go to the start of the formation. The clock is ticking down, but as I say, there's one car still in the pit road. As you look at the KTM, the front opens on the true racing car of Reinhard Koffler, and this is the car that will start on the outside of the front row of the grid. The KTM Crossbow, which in the early days of GT4 was an open top car, now it looks more like a mini sports prototype in a sense, with that all-enveloping bodywork, and like Ginetta alongside actually on the front row. It's a low-volume sports car manufacturer. KTM perhaps more familiar in motorbike terms, but it produces a very quick car nonetheless. The grid still forming up, and the fans get themselves ready, and we are going to have certainly a very, very good race. There'll be lots happening up and down the order, and of course with 2 drivers to all but 2 cars, the beauty of this is that some will rise and fall depending on which driver you get behind the wheel at a given time. So BMW represented on the grid, McLaren, we've also got Mercedes, you've got Audi, Aston Martin, Chevrolet, Porsche, KTM we've touched on, Ginetta we've touched on as well, and it is a tremendous entry. GT4 has always had great potential. It took a long, long time for it really to kick in, but now with more manufacturers realising the benefits of a customer racing programme and committing to the category, so it becomes a very busy championship indeed. And the fact that there are now this European, there's a Central European, a North European, a French GT4 championship as standalone, there's a GT4 class in Britain, there's a GT4 class in the Blancpain GT Series Asia. It proves what a market there all of a sudden is for this type of car. Down on the grid, pole position will go the way of Stuart Middleton, the HHC Motorsport team. The Harrogate squad of Charlie Kemp and JD Hemmings. The car now, you can just see the blue and white Ginetta trickling down into position as one of the two course cars makes its way from the front of the grid. And the championship now back under the auspices of SRO, going from strength to strength. So pretty much everybody good to go. Just looking back down onto that grid, one or two cars still being pushed into place and a little bit of shuffling to do as well. But will be one car that starts from the pits, which should be the 3Y Technology BMW of Guenard Delaunier and Sylvain Debs. I think there it is, the orange and white car. That will be the one that didn't get out yesterday. So that should be the one to start from the pit lane. I mentioned the KTM on the outside of row one with Reinhard Koffler starting. Laura Kreihammer will go second, and she's with our reporter, Dakota Jane.
Laura, now you're starting P2. This is going to be a really interesting race. Yesterday was a good qualifying for you. How are you feeling about the race today?
Very excited. Really looking forward to it. My colleague Reini Koffler did an amazing job, and it's a strong competitive field, and we have 46 cars, and I think it will be a big battle, and we're really looking forward to it.
Now, you said you had some extra weight on board. Is that going to be an issue during the race, or do you think you're just going to power through it?
No, we'll just go full power. We got a little bit of extra weight, but that's perfectly fine, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it. That's fine.
Best of luck, thank you.
Laura Kreihammer, the sister of former GT3 racer Dominic Kreihammer, and it's Reinhard Koffler who will take over, who will start, I should say, ex-Formula BMW racer and a regular in KTM's in GT4. Coming up to the grid here is the Audi, which is the car of Jean-Louis Jasper and Jörg Wiebahn. And you'll see it from the outside, it's the bright yellow, there it is, Audi, you cannot miss. And it's going to be started, that car, by Jörg Wiebahn, who's a former GT4 champion. And that car will be another one to watch. Now, what about the pole car? Stuart Middleton starts, Will Tregurtha will go second, and this is another one that's copped some extra weight overnight. BOP changes, so let's hear from Will Tregurtha.
Will, the boy on pole, it's going to be a great race, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been really chaotic, really. So many cars on track. It's really good fun. Stuart did a great job in pole by almost 7/10, really. Just managed to nail a lap and have no traffic as well, so he was pretty lucky with that. Same with me. But yeah, really excited. It's going to be a great race.
And the extra weight in the car?
Yeah, it'll make it a bit harder, for sure. It'll definitely limit our lap times a bit, probably make it a bit harder on the tyres, but it's only an hour race and Stuart's pretty good on the tyres, and we've been practicing trying to keep him in, so it's a bit of an unknown, but it'll be really good fun.
Now the Ginettas kind of have an advantage over here in the back corners. Do you think that you're going to have an advantage?
I hope so, but it's quite hard to keep people behind us and to overtake because we're a bit limited on straight line speed, so it'll just come down to whether Stuart can stay ahead for the first few laps, and hopefully we can pull away.
Good luck, thanks.
Thanks.
So the car, as Dakota says, it's heavier, 35 kilos, and the ride height up by 10 millimetres. So what we don't yet know, because there's no warm-up for these cars, is how that will affect life. But about to be the pioneer is Stuart Middleton. Will Tregurtha on pole position for his session as well, so they did a great job yesterday. They are the reigning British GT4 champions and know the circuit. HHC knows exactly what it's doing as well in terms of car setup. So that's the pole car, and we've got 1 minute to go before the formation lap gets underway. That curbing has been used a great deal over the course of the weekend. Coming out of turn 3 at Graham Hill Bend, track limit abuse, track limit warnings, track limit penalties have been commonplace, whereas coming out of Stirling's, you've got the high curb there, which has caught out the unwary and spat the odd car off the road and into barriers, indeed, over the course of the weekend thus far. What a grid, though, looking down on this. I can remember the first time the GT4 Series came to Silverstone in the first year of the championship, and it was a modest entry, to say the least, and the potential has always been there, but now finally it has been realised. It's a mouth-watering entry. This alone is a spectacle, and bearing in mind this is on the same programme as the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup, it's an absolute feast for GT fans. Look at that, stretching right the way back to Clark Curve. The Race director then has given the 15-second signal to get everybody off the grid and prepare for the formation lap. The warming up lap there, you can see the, as it will be, pace car ready to go. And it blasts away now. Still the mechanics trying to funnel their way through the little gap in the pit wall and get into the pit lane itself. And starting from the pit lane is going to be number 39 BMW, so that will be on colder tyres, saving himself a lap of fuel should that be an issue. So the cars that have gained weight under the BOP will, as Will Tregurtha was suggesting, have to be careful of tyre conservation and brake conservation as well, because it's a hard old circuit. This 222 Porsche there is the Cayman GT4. There's the Cayman and there's also a 911 within the entry, and that's the Cayman of Nicky Leutwiler that we were just looking at a moment ago. The view from on board Jörg Wiebahn's car. So let's have a quick look at the grid. Stuart Middleton starts on pole position with Reinhard Koffler alongside him. The second row is Milan Dontje in the Audi alongside Markus Lundstrass. And then on row 3, Jakob Schober will go first in the Mercedes, and lining up alongside him is the BMW of Miguel Cristobal. Josiah Rodest is on row 4 for the Phoenix Audi squad ahead of Gottfried Pilz. Then the BMW of the experienced Simon Knapp, and the Academy Motorsport ran Aston Martin of the Swede Dennis Strandberg lining up alongside. Then comes Patrick Zamperini's Audi and Ravan Umberescu's BMW. From Luis Floss, BMW mounted, so too is Akil Rabindra alongside. McLaren next, Finlay Hutchison alongside Bart Sluys in his Sellerslach run Mercedes. Behind them comes the German girl Beitzke Visser's BMW and the McLaren of Paul Rees. Then it is Nicolas Schurl with Nicky Leutwiler alongside. Porsches both. The Phoenix Audi of Jörg Wiebahn is next with Mark van der Aar lining up in the BMW for company alongside. Marcus Pavarud is next with the Mercedes, and it's the BMW of Ali Turkan alongside with Helmut Rödig and Eike Angermeier sharing the next row of the grid. On the 14th row is Philippe Betke's Porsche that he shares with Marc Besseng, one to watch in the second stint. Massimiliano Tresoldi's BMW alongside ahead of Walt Natan's Chevrolet, and then Rudolf Schulte in the Porsche. Christian Danner, yes, that one, the ex-Grand Prix racer, having his first race here since 1986, is on row 16 with Giuseppe Getzi for company. Then comes J.M. Littmann, Jean-Marc Littmann and Luke Brahms alongside from Fiona James and Pascal Bachmann, with the Aston Martins locking out the 18th row. Row 19 is another HHC Ginetta of Mike Newbold, with the Quick Will Burns as the co-driver. Then Lisette Brahms alongside ahead of Johan Vannerum. Soloist, Louis-Philippe Cernan with the Mercedes. Row 21 is Dario Cerati and Stephen Patrick, the British driver, with a 5-place grid drop. And then the penalised, Stefan Tribodi, is on row 22 with David Pattison for company in the McLaren. At the back of the grid, Eric Mouet, and from the pits will be number 39 BMW of Gwenal Delomier. Just got there in time because the cars are coming into clearways them now. 3 pit windows. The Silvers pit between 23 and 30 minutes. The Pro-Ams 30 to 37. The AMs 25 to 35. Then you shuffle the times around for race 2. So in theory, nobody gets disadvantaged. The formation lap then about to be completed. The pace car slows right down to get everybody in this 2x2 Noah's Ark formation, ready to peel into the pit lane and get the race underway. It's going to be Stuart Middleton versus Reinhard Koffler then. One brand's expert, because he's done more miles around here than the other. Stuart Middleton, he's raced here in Ginetta Juniors, in British GT Ginettas, and now in the European GT4 series as well. And the pace car leaves it late, but now peels through into the pit lane. So Stuart Middleton accelerates up towards the line, and the race director, if he is happy, will turn the lights to green and we will go racing. The Audi on the second row of the grid there tries to line up for a run on the middle. That's Milan Dontje. A bit of a slow start by Reinhard Koffler in comparison, and the Ginetta leads the way down towards paddock for the first time. Stuart Middleton on the inside. There's somebody with damage and smoke in midfield. Looks like a Mercedes as they round paddock then and climb up towards Druids. Koffler tries to fight back on the inside there of Dontje, but it's Middleton in the lead. Dontje goes second, third on the outside line, Reinhard Koffler. Have they all survived paddock? I think more or less they have, and now round Druids for the first time. Down to Graham Hill Bend. This is part of the circuit where track limits has been an issue over the weekend. You've got there, look, Jörg Wiebahn's distinctive yellow Audi up at Druids, and everybody funnels through onto Cougar Straight for the first time. Middleton it is leading at the end of the first sector. Koffler second, Dontje third, Markus Lundstrass fourth. The BMW of Umberescu is fifth, and then Jakob Schober in sixth place. And a big spin with contact, I'm afraid. 24 facing the wrong way. And the next question is, will everybody miss? Because as the cars funnel their way through Surtees, that is Gottfried Pilz sitting in the middle of the road. And I think everybody has been able to get through. Thankfully, is the safety car going to be required? Hopefully that car can get going and we will not have to have the race interrupted as the leaders go to Westfield for the first time. Still, they pour through Hawthorns. Now, this is Westfield, up through Dingledale towards Sheen Curve, and Stuart Middleton, having been able to hang on to the race lead, is getting away just a little. Reinhard Koffler running in second place. Milan Doncha is third. Through they turn for the first time. Challenge there. Looks side by side to go around the outside. Simon Knap. He's got the Audi alongside in the hands of Gosaya Radest there. But Simon Knap coming up the order. The BMW has the inside line down to Clearways. So Simon Knap goes through, picks up the pace. The leader over the line at the end of lap 1. Safety car is on standby. Safety car deployed. End of lap 1, we go safety car. Perhaps not a huge surprise, but the safety car deployed then at the end of the opening lap. So everybody now funnels over the line, and the message gets through that the safety car is on the circuit, and that's the reason why. So Gottfried Pilz out of the race, safety car deployed, and so the race order: Stuart Middleton ahead of Reinhard Koffler, ahead of Milan Doncha. Fourth, Markus Lundstrass. In fifth place is the BMW of Ravan Marescu, and then in sixth spot, 47, the Lechner-run Mercedes of Jakob Schober. Now, hopefully, this won't be too long a safety car period, because there is the short circuit, the Indy circuit. You'll see it in a moment, just to the left of the screen, where the cars can be quickly brought out of harm's way and use that then as the into the pit lane. So once the field has gone through, the recovery vehicle can be dispatched, and we can get the circuit clear, ready to go racing once more. And another car off the road as well. That's the Ginetta, which I fear might be like Newbolt's car. It's got an HHC look to that. So everybody funneling through, and there's more to it. So it's not just Gottfried Pilz, because you've also lost number 18, which is Wolf Natan's V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaro. The Dutch driver who's come out of Carrera Cup Deutschland, sadly, is a retirement with some damage. And there, number 50, is indeed the Mike Newbold Ginetta. So that's a big disappointment. You can see he's been all over the grass, and the air scoop is full. But I suspect in trying to avoid the spinning Gottfried Pilz, there was a tangle, and that's taken those two cars out of the race, so damage to both. Safety car on track. Replay of the start. Now have a look at Reinhard Koffler. Was he caught napping, or was Stuart Middleton a bit keen on his toes? The safety car peels in at the last moment. The lights do go out. Yeah, I think it was Koffler who was not really on his toes there. Stuart Middleton made a good start, and so from the second row of the grid did Milan Doncha, brother of Indy Doncha that you've seen perhaps in Rockpan races, and there with damage in mid-pack, the red Mercedes. Now that must have got a brush from somebody. It is Marcus Pavarud starting. Is Pavarud still circulating? Yes, he is in 27th place, so actually not that bad considering the smoke was there. The car managing to pick up pace and get around the problem. One assumes the smoke less as it comes out of paddock there. Everyone safely out of Druids, and then the run down towards Graham Hill Bend for the first time, with a bit of a diversity of line being taken. Another of the KTMs way wide up the curb there, but it all kicked off, of course, going through Surtees for the first time, because Gottfried Pilz ended up being tagged by an Audi. Was that 77? Yes, it was the Patrick Zamparini Audi that did the tagging, and as everybody tried to avoid, then there was more drama further up the road. The KTM is off the circuit. I can see that's now been retrieved as you look in the replay here at Simon Knap, going out around the outside of the Polish girl Gosaya Radest, gaining a place coming out of Sterling's and making the run into Clearways. This is up at Druids, and this is live because we are still behind the safety car, so the weaving is to try and get the tyre temperatures and pressures up. Stuart Middleton doing the job well off the rolling start, getting himself into the lead of the race, and then being able to consolidate that for the opening tour. So he comes along Cooper Straight, and he'll need to be just as good on the restart. Now that car is one from the Silver Cup, so that means that its pit window will open at the 23-minute mark. The leading Pro-Am for the moment is, I think, number 16, Markus Lundstrass. Pro-Am is 30 to 37 minutes, and it's Nicky Lundweiler who leads the AMs, and that's a 25 to 35 minute pit window. This is how the start looked from Jörg Wiebahn's car. So he was away, he got boxed in a bit because the Porsche had suddenly slowed, so he braked, and then everybody went, so he lost a bit of ground going up towards paddock. That's always the problem with the cars ahead accelerating and slowing. You kind of really have to adopt the principle of go, not slow. So once you start accelerating, you have to keep accelerating, but if somebody lifts ahead of you and you have to hit the brakes, then a really brave move by Wiebahn up the inside gets past the Porsche and almost up alongside number 10 McLaren there, being started by Finlay Hutchison through Druids. Wiebahn goes down to Graham Hill Bend. Uses the curb on the outside, but that's all good. Only 2 wheels up the curb and then blasts along Cooper Straight in towards Surtees. Turn in, look for a bit of clear track space, go around the outside, almost run off the road. What he'd gained, he lost because he was alongside the McLaren that has to slot back in behind. The McLaren accelerates through the traffic, getting boxed in behind other cars, so trying to weave his way past the cars ahead is Finlay Hutchinson, and then turns into Hawthorne, having gained 1 place and leaving, therefore, Jörg Wieber in his wake. Safety car comes through again. So 1 more lap being done. The safety car has slowed considerably as it came onto the pit straight. Now, whether that was because it was felt that the leader had dropped back and needed to be retrieved, it's hard to gauge, but the pace of the safety car certainly was reduced as it came up towards the timing line just now. So it's an HHC car leading, but 1 HHC car being retrieved. And there is the other car that's caused this interruption, number 18 of Wolf Nathan, Jelle Bielen, the 2015 Pro-Am champion, the co-driver, denied a run in this. So the first of the 2 races today for these cars being interrupted by the safety car. And of course the frustration here is that if you've got your quick driver in first, in the case of Pro-Ams particularly, then the work that the Pro is doing is negated because you've got less racing laps to be able to take advantage of that. Glorious weather that we've enjoyed at Brands Hatch this weekend, which has helped to bring lots of people out today for a very busy race day from GT4, from Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup, and also a couple of club-level Caterham races to keep the fans happy, plus all the supercar demonstrations that there will be at parades as well. Perfect way to top up your tan here, look. Come and watch mouth-watering GT cars in the glorious sunshine. So sadly, we're a Ginetta down, we're a KTM down, and a Chevrolet down as well. Cars turning their way out of Hawthorne. This is the second event of the season, the first having been at Zolder, where the first race was won by Milan Doccia and Nikolai Monomadsen. That's the car running in 3rd place at the moment, from Will Tregerthen and Stuart Middleton, and Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Stéphane Tribodini were 3rd in that opening race. It was Tregerthen and Middleton who won the 2nd, from Patrick Zamperini and Chabamore. Paul Rees, another British driver, in the entry 3rd with Nico Rindlisbacher. So at the end of that, the Silver Cup, led by Tregerthen and Middleton, with a 6-point lead over Milan Doccia and Nikolai Monomadsen. The leading Pro-Ams in the championship are jointly Patrick Zamperini, Chabamore, and Philippe Benka and Mark Marseille, the former GT1 world champion. And the leading Am, because he drives solo, is Nicky Leutwiler. So, championship with 2 races done comes to Brands Hatch this weekend. It's equal points across both races. And there's the Chevrolet of Wolf Nathan, which by the look of it is going to remain there. So the safety car comes over the line. That's now 4 laps done. Got a chance to see just what a big thing it is as BMW, Aston Martin pulls across the line. So you've got the BM, Audi, BMW, Porsche, BMW, Aston Martin, BMW, and then McLaren and Mercedes running behind. So the cars are turning their way down towards Graham Hill Bend once more. The race, 10 minutes done. And stewards will no doubt have a look at the incident that's caused this stoppage, this interruption I should say, and see whether anybody has a case to answer. They're through number 16 Audi, which is the Markus Lundstrass Hamza Ovega car running in 4th place, leading Pro-Am as well. Now, are we in danger of getting to the pit window fairly shortly? It's the Silvers that will be in first. Their pit window opens earlier. Right, I can see one Ginetta swiftly being brought back on a flatbed down to the pit lane, so the other HHC car about to come in. Real shame that, because Will Burns, who would have been the second driver, very quick, former British Touring Car Championship racer, and he start well up for the second race, but big disappointment that he is not going to get a drive in this. Hopefully the car's not too badly damaged. See the BMW M4s pouring through, the Mercedes, there it is. The AMG GT4 number 31 is the Sellerslach Racing Team car of Bart Sluis. The same Sellerslach team that of course used to be an FIA GT and the GT1 World Championship before that, but Bart Sluis then behind the wheel at the moment, and 31 is to be found in 18th place, which out of 40 plus starters ain't that bad. So how long before we get the race underway? Certainly one more lap. Pro-Am leader I've been mentioning in Markus Lundstrass. Second at the moment is the BMW of Newell Christobau. Third is the Audi of Desira Desk. Fourth in the Pro-Ams is the Racing One Audi of Patrick Zamperini. Then we've got 38, which is the 3Y Technology BMW of Brilliant Floss. British driver JM Jean-Marc Littmann in 9th place, taking over the car that was initially going to be driven by Jan Kasperlik, but he's on parental duty this weekend, he and his wife expecting the birth of a child, so JM Littmann steps into that car, a former Caterham racer, and enjoying his GT4 racing. He's been in the Preventing series for the last couple of seasons, but coming back into top-line international GT racing. It's good to have him back, the internet company owner, and he is currently running in 25th overall. So the cars pour across the line. We're working lap 6 and we await the lights going out on top of the safety car. That's the indication, of course, that we are good to go racing, but we are not there just yet. Still, the decision I think needs to be made about this Chevrolet and whether it can sit by the side of the road or whether it needs to be brought back. So everybody turning their way out of Surtees. Actually, that's a lie. Some are turning their way out of Surtees, others are stopped on the hill up towards Druids because the pace is so slow. And it's a very lengthy recovery job for whatever reason. So hopefully we're not going to be that far off getting underway again. For cars that didn't seem to be that badly damaged and were parked on the grass, we've lost, what, 5 laps now? So down through Hawthorne they come. The safety car in at the end of this lap, so the teams will be very pleased. We can go back racing. And there is 222. That is the Niki Leutwiler Porsche. The AM class at the moment is led by Leutwiler. From in second in the AMs, Nicolas Schurl and Joachim Bolting. And then the third AM car is the redoubtable Christian Danner, who was last here for the 1986 British Grand Prix. He was involved in that first corner accident that caused the red flag and eliminated Jacques Lafitte from his 176th Grand Prix, which would have been a record start at the time. And it's been a long time between visits to Brands Hatch, but Christian Danner was saying yesterday it's hardly changed at all. Still feels like the old place, but the car now is slower than his Arrows BMW of 1986. Safety car will be in now. Get ready to go racing. 45 minutes are on the clock. Down to Clearways, weaves, Stuart Middleton getting the tyre pressures up, getting the warmth there. He accelerates now, gets the drop on Reinhard Koffler as they come through Clark Curve. Then the Ginetta is 3 lengths up. The danger in all of this is going to be Milan Doncher in 3rd place to see whether he can make a move against Koffler's KTM. In 4th place is the Audi of the Pro-Am leader Markus Lundstrass. To the outside line goes Milan Doncher. They come charging down towards paddock, side by side for 2nd place. KTM on the inside, Audi on the outside. But now Doncher wants the undercut. Wide in, tight out is the plan. He can't really do it because there's a KTM in the way. There's an Audi almost alongside, so Doncher gets trapped going up towards Druids. Lundstrass is right with them. Then 5th is Ungareschke in the BMW. 6th is the Jakob Scholl car as they come down through Clearway, through Graham Hill Bend rather, for the 7th time of asking. So Jakob Scholl in 6th spot, trying to go with the leaders. And Stuart Middleton being gifted a bit more of an advantage because while there Reinhard Koffler was busy defending, so the leader has been able to get away by another 2 or 3 lengths. They're still coming out of Druids, would you believe, as the leaders are on their way down towards Hawthorns. It won't be long before traffic becomes a real issue in all of this. Through Hawthorne they go, and the race leader, Stuart Middleton, then trying to break clear of the rest as they come into Westfield now. Their 2nd is Reinhard Koffler, fending off Doncher, going after the leader. 4th is Markus Lundstrass. So the Audi R8 LMS GT4s running together as the lead gap's coming down. Koffler shaking off the 4 rings and now going after the top car ahead of him, the Ginetta. So you've got the Leeds-built Ginetta G55 ahead of the KTM as they come out of Stirling's. Now up through the gears, underneath the bridge, down towards Clark Curve they will come. The 2 race leaders going nose to tail now, and it's been a good recovery lap this by Koffler, because having lost ground at the start, he's managed to put himself back onto the tail of Stuart Middleton as they come across the timing line then. Another lap in the book. The lead gap is 0.3 of a second, that's all. It's Middleton to Koffler in third place. Dodger, fourth is Lundstraff. The next pair, Umberescu just ahead of Jakob Schober as they go through paddock. And is this going to be a chance for Schober in the Mercedes to make a move up on the inside? No, he gets a face full of M4. So it is Razvan Umberescu that fends him off for the moment. Downhill they come. The pair now being caught by the number 1 BMW of Simon Knapp behind. And Simon Knapp's an experienced driver, ex-Formula Ford racer, raced here, I'm pretty sure, in Formula Ford quite a long time ago, and then raced successfully in GT3 as well as GT4 cars for a number of seasons. There is 111 BMW of Razvan Umberescu, still trying to fend off Jakob Schober. Then behind you've got number 1, there it is, catching Simon Knapp, down in 8th place now is 112, another of the RN Vision BMWs of Miguel Cristobal, and 22 hustling on then. This is a change for second because Koffler has dropped back behind Dodger going through Hawthorns, and Marcus Lundstrass comes up to challenge as well. Now, has Koffler got a problem? Is he going to be easy prey for Lundstrass then? Let's see, second, third, fourth, new order as they work their way out of Sheen Curve. Stuart Middleton trying to get away, and Reinhard Koffler has regrouped after losing that second spot, and he's now right back onto the tail of Milan Dodger as they come into the right-hander of Clark Curve, out of clearways, then up towards the end of lap number 8. We're getting ready for pit windows opening, so Koffler, after a small loss of pace and place, fights back. Over the timing line they come, but look, he has got a problem. He just can't go with the cars ahead, and that puts him into the clutches of Marcus Lundstrass, who attacks going into paddock. Can't believe this is the weight of the car. It must be a problem with it. So Reinhard Koffler struggling a little bit as he goes uphill. Lundstrass dives to the inside, hits the brakes. The car squirms as he does so. But all of this is playing right into the hands now of Stuart Middleton in the lead of the race. He's getting away. 11/10 to the good at the end of the previous lap. The fastest lap has been set by the charging Simon Knapp in number 1 BMW as the leaders work along Cooper Straight now. Brake, turn left through Surtees. Road climbs uphill here. There is Koffler, doing his best to hang on to that third place, but having lost ground, is he going to lose more places? Laura Krohammer getting ready to take the car over, and the very evenly matched pairing of Stuart Middleton and Will Tregertha lead the way. There's the challenge for third place. Lundstrass comes up to the outside line, and of course while he's being delayed like this, he's losing touch net with the top 2. There's a yellow flag out in the first sector as well, because there's a car well and truly beached at Paddock Hill Bend. There it is, it's the one that started in the pit lane. So off has gone Gwenal Delumier's BMW, and is that going to need a race interruption to get it out of harm's way? Let us see what develops next in this hectic race that's still being led, no matter what's thrown at him, by Stuart Middleton. Remember, he's only in his late teens, just like Will Tregertha, but a very mature head as he comes now then through the right-hander of Clark Curve up towards the timing line. Stuart Middleton comes through as there a very, very bold challenge is made in replay, and that's how Delumier got into the gravel, because he came charging up the inside of the McLaren of David Pattison, and after the contact there was no way that was going to turn, and off he goes into the gravel. So that's how Delumier went off the road. The car is still there, the snatch vehicle is ready, but is it going to be able to retrieve that under double waved yellow flags? Race order then. Stuart Middleton leading from Milan Dodger, 1.3 seconds is the gap. Reinhard Koffler is still third, ahead of Marcus Lundstrass. Razvan Umberescu is fifth, then it's Jakob Schober in 6th spot. 7th is Simon Knapp, 8th is Miguel Cristobal, 9th is Gusaya Rodesta, 10th is Patrick Zamparini as they work their way through Surtees. 40 minutes just under still to go. That moment between David Pattison and the BMW of Gwenal Delumier is under investigation, you won't be surprised to learn. So the stewards are going to have a look at that. They were kept busy yesterday with all sorts of offences, and the day starts pretty briskly now for them. Fight on here, look, as you see 47 bouncing through Westfield. That's Jakob Schober's car, running the Mercedes in 6th place. That car run by the Lechner Racing Squad, which is synonymous with success in Carrera Cup and Porsche Super Cup, but now turning to GT4 as the leading Ginetta accelerates out of Sterling's. They're 2nd and 3rd. It's still Milan Dodger ahead of Reinhard Koffler. And Koffler doing his best and succeeding, in fairness, to stay on the back of the 2nd placed Audi. You see how many of them run really wide over the curb, and because it's a high curve it does have the effect of unsettling the car. Leader through them, Stuart Middleton creeping away, 1.4 seconds ahead of Dodger now. Will Tregertha versus Nikolai Moller-Madsen into the second stint will be interesting to watch. And the climb uphill there. Third is Kofler, fourth is Lundstrass, fifth is Obrescu, sixth is Jakob Schober. Yellows in sector 1 and sector 2 now, as they're having a look to the inside line is Simon Knapp as they come downhill. So at paddock we've got the snatch vehicle trying to sort the incident out, which thankfully means that the race doesn't need to be interrupted again. And the race leaders getting closer all the time, of course, to the pit window opening. And then in many cases you put a different pace of driver in. Let's see what develops. The safety car is on standby though. So are we going to require that? Because there's been another incident look at Hawthorns. You see the double waved yellows there. So who is it that's gone off the road at Hawthorns? Let's see as the camera pans round. It's another of the BMWs that's well and truly beached on the outside line. And I fear that that is going to need the race to be neutralised to get that out of the way. Here's the replay. The right old sort out. Which one did we lose? 38 it is. It's another of the 3 wide cars. That's Louise Floss. Floss filling the gravel trap, I'm afraid to say. So that's off the road. Not a good race this for the 3 wide technology team. And we'll wait and see whether the race needs an interruption. So it is Stuart Middleton, the race leader, coming up towards the timing line. This will be the end of lap number 11. So Middleton it is that leads the way. There in the Ginetta, yellow flags fly, and that's going to bring the safety car back on track. Second is Milan Doncia, third is Reinhard Kofler, fourth is Lundstrass, fifth Obrescu, sixth Schober, seventh is Knapp, eighth is Christoval, ninth is Rodest, and 10th there going through is Zamprini. And all those gaps are now going to become irrelevant because they will all close up under the second safety car period that we have. Jörg Wiebahn here comes over the timing line. Been a hectic race for him thus far, but Jörg Wiebahn running in 16th place. So the pit window remains unchanged according to the race director, and the cars all close up once again. Safety cars breed safety cars, it has been said, and of course what you now have is everybody bunched up again, and therefore there's perhaps more chance of drama when we go racing. However, some will peel into the pit lane. So proper GT fan there with his Total 24 Hours of Spa cap on. Good chap. Great race, the 24 Hours of Spa, which is the last weekend of July, and there'll be, as ever, a huge crowd there. GT cars and track fans, old and young look. Right, so no overtaking, of course, permitted behind the safety car. Co-drivers get ready. Pit window remains unchanged, is the instruction from race control. That's Simon Knapp's BMW, run by the MDM Motorsport team, that he will give way to Max Kubolt, who is another quick driver. So that's going to come up the order, I would propose, because Kubolt's the reigning GT4 European champion in class. So one to watch, certainly. The number of cars being investigated for assorted incidents is growing all the time. It's probably quicker to put up the ones that aren't under investigation. So the first pit window that we're going to get to is now, and that is for the silver cars, silver graded drivers, 23 to 30 minutes. At 25 minutes in, the AMs can stop, and then at 30 minutes, the Pro-Ams can stop. So 23 to 30 minutes if you're silver, 25 to 35 for the AMs, and 30 to 37 for the Pro-Ams. Questions will be asked later to make sure you've paid attention. The teams need to pay attention because they need to make sure they get the car in at the right time, and so there are drivers ready. You can't do anything else really other than change tyre pressures if you need to, and any running repairs. You certainly can't refuel. And the pit lane is filling up rapidly because first is in, second is in, third is in. That's going to put now into the lead of the race Markus Lundstrass. But of course, if you get the pit stop out of the way now, while the race pace is slow, then you're going to be in the box seat for when those that have taken your position now have to peel in a little bit later on. You'll get all these places back again. A pit stop is 98 seconds line to line. So 98 seconds pit in to pit out. And if you're wrong on the pit stop, the timing data fires an alert and penalties will be applied to balance it all out again. That's down at HHC. So Stuart Middleton is out of the car. Will Tregertha gets in, and the yellow flags are out. There are some, but they, you can see, aren't closing up the gaps as they would need to, but the AMs at the back straggling a little bit, and that will have the negative effect on the early stoppers because, of course, the Crocodile is going to be a very strung out one. So it might be that the race director issues an instruction to say to cars A, B and C, please close the gaps ahead of you. So everybody doing the right thing, slowing down under the safety car, but if you slow anyway, and you slow further, then you drop further back. So that's why those last 3 cars have now got quite a lot of empty track space ahead. But of course also, those cars will have to peel into the pits anyway to serve the mandatory stop. But again, because the pit lane is so busy, you've got to get the cars parked in nose first. You can't have them flush to the pit bay, otherwise there's just not enough room for everybody. So again, it's a lovely problem to have. And the team's getting ready to release the cars, I can see. And I reckon that the KTM is going to be ahead of the Audi once more. So Will Tregurtha goes out ahead of Laura Kreiheimer, ahead of Nikolai Moller-Madsen. So that means to say that on the pit stops, the KTM has gone back ahead, look, of the Audi. Now, is that meaning it was a bad stop for the Audi or a very, very good investigatory type stop for the KTM? The data will reveal all, but if the Phoenix Racing team was a bit slow, that's why it's lost a place. But if the KTM pit stop and the car is run by the True Racing team, if that was under the 98 seconds, then of course that information will be there and that would explain why the place was changed. So it's only after the stops that you really get a proper indication of whether somebody was having a slow stop or whether somebody was under on the time. For now, though, what we do know is that the positions have changed. So there, look, is Laura Kreiheimer back ahead in the KTM of Nikolai Moller-Madsen. And that is the reason for the safety car period, as the BMW is pulled rather unceremoniously out of the gravel. Others far from the pit lane, but interestingly, Markus Lundstras is staying out. So the danger is here that if you don't pit under the safety car, when you do pit, it's going to be near to the green flag or during a green flag, and the race pace is quicker, so you lose heaps of time. So the Ginetta of H8C, Stuart Middleton and Will Tregurtha's car, really is in the pound seats here by being first in, and should, when all the pit stops unwind, maintain the race lead. So everybody else serving the mandatory stops. 222, Nicky Leutwiler in the background. Look, you've got the Sellersla Mercedes, Johan Vannerum in for Nico van Dierendonk. 1 out, 1 in. And those that have stopped are about to come pounding over the line. So Stuart Middleton handing over to Will Tregurtha. That car goes through. And 20th. But of course, with other cars ahead, everybody ahead, still to serve the mandatory stops. So this is where the timekeeping service run by Swiss Timing comes into its own to sort out the order as people peel into the pit lane. And all these different pit stop windows have to be taken into account as well. But Markus Lundstras then, the race leader for the Racing One team. I'm certainly surprised that as many teams are staying out as they are. The top 19 cars yet to pit, and you would have thought it was the obvious thing to do while the safety car was on track and the pace of the race was so much slower. So there's Lundstras, that's the leading car. Out of Westfield, the road drops down through towards Dingledell, climb up the other side into Sheen Curve, which was the undoing of 1 or 2 yesterday in different practice sessions and support races. And then there's the left at Stirling's, where we had a sizable accident in the first Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup session today, which annihilated one of the Mercedes. It was rebuilt, it was a big hit. And there, Chevrolet Camaro through. So is Lundstras going to pit this time? Lights still flash on the safety car. No, another lap done. In comes Razvan Umbrescu though. Also Messiah Radest comes in. But still a bit mystified as to why these cars aren't pitting, because when they do, they're going to lose pretty much every place. The line will come past, so it's not, I wouldn't have thought, the wisest move, this. Anyway, the teams must have a plan and an idea as to why they want to keep the cars out. So where does this put the leading pit stopper? Well, Will Tregurtha will come across the line shortly. Pit lane still busy, busy, busy. I suppose the other reason, in fairness for all of this, is that for the Pro-Ams, that window opens later, doesn't it? Apologies. So Lundstras can't come in yet, forgive me. So, because that's a Pro-Am car, he's got to wait for at least 1 more lap, and that's going to hurt them because the safety car's in at the end of this lap, and he'll be able to be in on this lap, but the timing is all wrong. So in will come the leaders, or they can come in at the end of this lap as Pro-Ams. It might be that Lundstras stays out a bit longer and tries to eke out a bit more pace, actually, with a clear road ahead of him. So we've done now 31 and a bit minutes, so that means the window is open, or has been open for everybody, but only now can the Pro-Am cars come in. So it was the different windows that was tricking me for a moment, and so Lundstrath can now come in, and so can Christopher behind him. The third place car is Nicholas Schurl, and that's an AM. He can pit, actually, his window's already open for him. So the safety car is in this time, but it's the Pro-Ams that will be affected in the overall competition. It won't necessarily hurt in terms of the class battle in Pro-Am, but it certainly will for overall honours. Right, so you've got some serving stops. Pace car, safety car will be in now. And so Marcus Lundstrass is going to, yes, come in. So he loses the class lead to Christopher for the moment, but gets the stop out of the way at the first available opportunity. So apologies for criticising the team. The pit window wasn't open, it is now. Stuart Middleton will lead the way, but as they come across the line, the Will Tregertha-driven Ginetta then has got all sorts of drama going on behind him. Max Kubolt, BMW, trying to squeeze up the inside of Lara Kryhammer. There's Nikolai Moller-Madsen on the outside, so this now is the lead battle, and it's pretty much what the leading 10, 12 cars up towards Druids. It is up front then in 55, Ginetta now, Will Tregertha trying to get away while everybody scraps behind him. Lara Kryhammer is second, round the outside line comes number 1 BMW, Max Kubolt tries to get up past Moller-Madsen, can't do it, gets run out wide, and so now Ricardo van der Ende out of nowhere, look, in the number 10 McLaren, taken over from Finlay Hutchison, goes for the inside line, 2 wheels on the lawn. Can he get through? Not quite, tries to force the door open, but it didn't work for him as they come now out of Surtees, side by side. It's still this great battle between KTM and Audi for second spot, but it's playing into the hands of Tregertha, who is getting away for the race lead then. Ricardo van der Ende there in the McLaren, I think, could be the next danger in all of this, because he's leading, he's running in that leading group and looking to make further progress. And van der Ende, a very, very quick and very experienced driver, synonymous really with GT4 BMWs, but now adapting well to the McLaren and brought into the mix thanks to that safety car period, with the less experienced Finlay Hutchison having done the first stint. Down towards Clearways they come. And there, van der Ende attacks Kubolt. Up towards the line, it is going to be the Ginetta leading the way, so Will Tregertha will come across the line as the race leader. There, round the outside up to third goes Max Kubolt. And for fourth now, Ricardo van der Ende goes through. There, look, is the Audi rejoining after its stop, having dropped way, way back into the pack. So Marcus Lundstrath gives the car over, and the car blends back in now with Hamza Ovega behind the wheel. That's going to be, still in the top 10 as the leaders power downhill. Tregertha leading then, Moller-Madsen is second, and that gap 7/10. Kubolt was in third place when they came over the line. He still is in fourth place though now, as they sprint along Cooper Straight, is the KTM of Lara Kryhammer. Fifth, Ricardo van der Ende. So they're number 1 BMW, Max Kubolt powering downhill. Van der Ende looking to try and gain further ground on this lap. And also up front, Tregertha trying to get away from Nikolai Moller-Madsen. It's Ginetta versus Audi for the lead. Whoops, that is van der Ende being given a squeeze by Lara Kryhammer, and off the road he goes, and hard into the barrier goes Ricardo van der Ende. And that was rather unnecessary, I'm afraid to say. The two of them side by side into Hawthorns, and it looked as though the KTM moved across towards the McLaren. Might have been that it grabbed under braking rather than anything sinister, but the safety car's on standby straight away, with the McLaren having gone through the gravel at very, very high speed, and that's done the barriers a power of no good as much as the car. Safety car is going to be deployed. Yes, the safety car yet again, and that no doubt is going to be investigated, that incident. So a third safety car period, and as the cars head over the line, the safety car will collect them on Cooper Straight. The flags are there, everybody slows right down, allowing for that, and that's a real shame, because Ricardo van der Ende was making excellent progress up through the order. He's okay, thankfully, but you can see the size of the accident because it's gone straight over the barrier. And Ricardo van der Ende goes back to look at the damage, just vaults over the barriers. Somebody in the gravel, that's the BMW that's been there for a while over at Paddock. Those markers, the Repsol also put down on the ground, I think, to try and deflect anything from that if required. So the safety car's on track. and Will Tregertha leads from Nikolai Moller-Madsen and Max Kubolt, but a great shame that the accident has taken Ricardo van der Ende out of the race. And now, of course, the Brands Hatch officials, the MSVR officials, are going to be concerned not just about extricating that car, but what damage it might have done to the barrier, because with that kind of an impact, then the barrier would have suffered, surely, some damage as well. And straight away, the GT4 team sending messages to race control asking for that accident to be investigated, and no doubt it will be. So the officials will go to work. The safety car could be out for quite a while in all of this. Depends really what can be done to get that car out of the way and how long it's going to take. So we'll wait and see what develops over at Hawthorne. Great shame, because the race was building up so nicely with this great battle. And the KTM, there it is, in the pack, is in 4th place still, Laura Kryhammer. A few back markers in the leading group now just to shuffle things around. So that car got away with it unscathed. Will Tregertha leads, Nikolai Moller-Madsen second, Max Kubolt third, 4th is Laura Kryhammer. 5th place is currently the number 8 Koen Burgart's BMW, and 6th now is Stefan Lemeret, who's taken over from Akhil Rabindra, and out of nowhere that car is now in the mix. So here it is, van der Ende to the outside, and the KTM just moves across. Tries to, I was going to say, tries to go for the line, but actually it was way out wide anyway. So Laura Kryhammer moves across, contact made, and the McLaren through the gravel. There's just no stopping power. Up the barrier, and a big hit. So the GT4 team straight away asking for that to be investigated, and the safety car on track. So you've got a car atop the barrier, barriers potentially damaged as well. It's hard to see how many more racing laps we might get out of this. There is Ricardo van der Ende, who is okay, bit shaken no doubt, but the good news is that he's fine, and the marshals that are at a very high speed part of the circuit are okay as well. The Brands Hatch medical team will just make sure that Ricardo is okay, and trips to the medical centre will be undertaken. And that's part of the course now. It happens whether it's a minor accident or a large accident. It's just to make sure the drivers are okay, but Ricardo is, seemingly. The real question is whether that car can be made good for the second race, but as the recovery team are on the way to get it off the barrier, we understand that there's an incident between Nicky Leutwiler and Louise Floss that's going to be investigated after the race. But as for the Kryhammer and van der Ende incident, no news yet. It's going to be quite an operation, this, to get the car lifted off the barrier. I'll just drag it off, which will do more damage. And of course, the Kryhammer and van der Ende accident is under investigation. So the fans in the stands enjoying the weather. The drivers now, of course, at a slower speed, getting less air into the cars, starting to go up in temperature, enjoying life a little less potentially at this reduced speed. So it's been a third safety car period, race very sadly affected by the safety cars. And the one constant is the excellent run for the HHC Motorsport Ginetta up the road ahead, where now Will Tregertha carries on, albeit under the safety car, the good work of Stuart Middleton. Just to go back to number 16, which is the Marcus Lundstrasse Audi, that did lead until its pit window was open, and apologies for suggesting it could have come in earlier. Hamza Ovega has taken over that car, and it is a long way down now in 36th place, a long way back in class, 12th in its class. Going up towards Druid, there it is, through the shot. Hamza Ovega at the wheel of it. Joe Osborne from the back of the grid in the David Pattison McLaren is making a bit of progress now, 35th, helped perhaps by the safety car, bunching people up, hopefully for a restart. 19 minutes to go. The real question is, until you get the McLaren off the barrier, you don't know what damage has been done to the barrier. And if anybody else goes off, what consequence would that have? So the safety car keeps the race going, albeit under these controlled conditions. Will Gerther is the race leader. Of course, another option open to the officials is that you get the race to a place where you can award points and then terminate it early because of the barrier damage, rather than continue behind the safety car. If that were required, it might be that they can go racing again for a few laps at the very end, but the other option is you get them to a situation where there are points to be awarded and terminate the race early. The McLaren is off the wall, off the barrier, but that needs removing, and then, as I say, there's the barrier that will need to be attended to as well. So the clock ticks on down. I have to say, given the fact that it's the barrier that's been attacked and that would need work done, it would not be a surprise if we didn't get to 75% and stop, but the race continues. And then the officials will make, of course, the decision. William Watte, who is the race director for the European GT4 series, will be keeping an eye to all of this. He'll be in contact with the local officials, of course, in race control, and they in turn will be in communication with the marshals and the track staff over at the incident zone. And with all the information relayed and the rule book to hand, a decision will be made on what happens next. But for now, that will put 20 laps in the book as they come across the timing line. Charlie Kemp in the background in the white shirt. The brains, or half of the brains, along with Jodie Hemmings, behind HHC Motorsport. Charlie himself, no mean racing driver, largely in historics. Very rapid racer a few years back. These days enjoying the challenge more perhaps of engineering cars and actually bringing on young drivers. It's been a real boon, I know, to Charlie and to Jodie to take people from Ginetta Junior racing and grow with them. The ultimate aim, I think, is to go to Le Mans for 24 hours, but the team is growing, and you can see the success here, taking on the best of the European GT4 squads and winning potentially for a second time, as well as having won in Ginetta Championships and the British GT. Driving and developing young drivers, something that Charlie, who's done a lot of driver coaching in his time, certainly relishes. So, 16 more minutes are open to the race, and down towards the right-hander of Hawthorn into the incident zone come the cars. Ricardo van der Ende we saw thankfully out of the McLaren, and as they come through Hawthorns now, we are at 15, just under 16 minutes still to go. Safety car slows right down, comes towards Westfield, and Will Gerther, the race leader. There's just this growing thought in my mind that he could be the race winner, really, because as the clock ticks on down, as I say, it's not so much the McLaren, it's the barrier that would surely be the concern. Can the race actually be allowed to restart, or are we heading towards 75% of points here? It's a great shame, because as you look at the size of the entry and the great variety on the track, you see how successful the championship has been, but there are still marshals and the track staff and the medical team there, so the race can't be restarted for a good few minutes yet, if at all. So down towards Clearways comes Will Gerther, and the yellow flag still flies on the start line. Will Gerther turns through Clearways into Clark Curve, and up towards the line comes the safety car. Another lap in the book, that will be 21. Frustration for the drivers behind, of course, is that they are running out of opportunities to make any progress now, because very nearly the order is what it was, after two racing laps really after the pit window. So the field through, 14 minutes still to go. There's going to be quite a few teams busy after this race getting the cars sorted for the second race of the day, which comes up at the end of the at the start of the afternoon at 2:25 so not much time between races. This year the timetable for the Brands Hatch event condensed into 2 days, so it means you've got a very busy Saturday of practice and qualifying and a very busy Sunday of 2 races, and that McLaren, I would be surprised if it would back out after the launch over the barrier. Front damage, hoses, pipes, suspension, bodywork, you name it. 13.5 minutes just over. Will Tregurtha leads the way in a stint that hasn't really afforded him very much to do yet. He was able to do a couple of racing laps, give or take, and managed to hang on to the race lead, which could have turned out to be crucial, depending on what does develop. But that car has dominated this race, dominated the weekend pretty much. Down towards Hawthorns they come, and the yellow flags wave. Got one car just leaving the pit lane, in fact, which is number 111 BMW, the Razvan Marescu, now Gabriele Piana BMW, that's dropped. Oh, actually, no, it's stayed on the lead lap. It's had a pit stop, but it's still on the lead lap. So I can see the medical car has just returned to the medical centre. There's the GT4 Spec 911 from the Autolando Sport team of Alessandro Giovinelli now behind the wheel. Autolando has two of these cars. Got the Dario Cerati Berezio Fondi car and Giuseppe Gezzi with Alessandro Giovinelli. There were plenty of Caymans, but only a couple of GT4 911s. And the classes, well, the Silver Cup, Will Tregurtha, Stuart Middleton leading from Nikolai Moller-Madsen and Milan Doncia, and third, Simon Knapp and Max Kubolt. The leading Pro-Ams are way out of sequence because of the different pit windows, and it is now the Cedric Freiberg House Messiah Rodest Audi from Mark Laseng and Philip Bitker, and then third of the Pro-Ams is Patrick Zamperini and Shaba Moore, and the leading Am is 76 Porsche, which is Giuseppe Gezzi and Alessandro Giovinelli from Nicky Leutweiler, and then third of the Ams is Johan van Rum and Nico van Dierodonk. So we've got the leaders coming over the line, yellow flags still fly, and that now takes us to 22 laps, and the red flag comes out because we have now done 75% and the race will be stopped. And Laura Kryhammer is being given a 20-second penalty for the incident involving the McLaren. So a 20-second penalty will drop that car way down the order, with everybody being condensed like this, but the race is stopped. We have reached 75%. This is what I was suggesting might happen. So the race has been taken to a point where it can be stopped, the barrier can be repaired, and points can be awarded. It's a shame it has to end that way, but realistically it's the only option for the organisers. You get it to a point where you can award the points. Now here, look, Van der Ende, there's plenty of room. There's still room, the KTM moves across, there's contact, he's on the grass, bounces over the gravel, can't slow the car down, and then, as it sort of straightens, it spears towards the barrier, kaboom. Marshals take cover, the very brave Marshals on the outside. The tyres, the recticel, the barrier, all hit. McLaren suffers front damage and no doubt chassis damage. No restart for the race, red flag, result declared. It was realistically the only option, as I was predicting. You get to 75%, you can award the points, and the job is done. And the officials can now go to work and use this extra time, because of course they've just bought themselves effectively 12 minutes extra to go work on that, with the necessity to keep things on the timetable for the purposes of the next race and live television coverage for that as well. Big shame, it really is, because the GT4 European Series bringing these huge grids of excellent cars and excellent drivers in the main to Brands Hatch, and it was building up to be a really good stint, but just one incident like that with two drivers going for the same bit of road. I still think Ricardo van der Ende couldn't have done much more. I mean, he had the track space. The only thing he could have done was drive onto the grass in avoidance, so that little bit of contact between the two. The stewards have looked at it. They decide that Laura Kryhammer is at fault, whether deliberate or not. A 20-second penalty awarded, and that puts that car down to 23rd place. 23rd place for Laura Kryhammer and Reinhard Koffler. But it is a win for two British drivers and a British team. And Will Tregurtha and Stuart Middleton will, in a moment, make their way as happy drivers to the top step of the podium. Perhaps not the way that they would have wanted the victory to come, but a win is a win, it's a win. The real frustration must be taken by Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who never got a chance to really attack. And Jody Hemmings there from HHC scratching his head. An excellent job done, and Charlie Camp will be around there somewhere, I'm sure, the other team patron, celebrating a good win. So top job done by both, and by both drivers as well. Still in their late teens, Will Tregurtha and Stuart Middleton, but proving that the next wave of talent is very much here in British GT racing. Will Tregurtha smiles. Didn't have to do much in that, but a win is a win. Top job. for Wiltra Gerther, and Nikolai Müller-Madsen and Max Kubolt coming home behind. Max Kubolt up from 9th on the grid. So 3 safety cars and a red flag at 75%. That's some good racing in the meantime. So the winner, Wiltra Gerther, Stuart Middleton victorious. Dakota Jane, our reporter, is in Park Fair.
Will, well done. That was quite an interesting race, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't get too much time in the car under grief running, but Stuart did an amazing job keeping the other cars behind. It wasn't easy. The box put us back a little bit, but we were quite lucky with all the safety cars. And I just can't fault the preparation of HHC. The cars were just amazing, and all my sponsors and my parents as well. Stuart's done an amazing job. Really, really happy.
Race 2 this afternoon. Good luck for that. Well done today. Thanks.
Thanks.
So well done to Wiltra Gerther. Let's see what pans out in the second race. The Equipe Verschoor team are for sure not happy at all about the way that Ricardo van der Ende's race ended, but let's hope that that car can be repaired for later on. Well, let's try and clarify the results, at least with the penalty applied to the KTM. Stuart Middleton and Wiltra Gerther win the 3rd race in this year's GT4 European Series from Milan Doncia and Nikolai Müller-Madsen. Simon Knapp and Max Kubolt 3rd from Mark van der Aar and Koen Bogaerts. 5th, Akhil Rabindra, the Indian driver, and the Belgian journalist Stefan Lemeret from Dennis Stramberg and Jan Jonk. Bart Slaus and Bas Schouten next from Stefan Chibodini and Pierre-Alexandre Jean, who came up from the 22nd row of the grid. So brilliant drive up from where they were. Then Ike Angermeyer and Stefan Cox ahead of Giuseppe Getzi and Antonio Giovinelli, the winning AMS, taking 10th place. Lower down the order, 20th is where you find the winning Pro-Am, Josiah Rodest and Cedric Freiberghaus, ahead of Philippe Becker and Mark Bosseng, and then Patrick Zamperini and Shaban Moore, with 23rd now being where the KTM of Reinhard Koffler and Laura Kreihammer drops to after the incident and the penalty, all duly applied. And go further down the order, Christopher Zirkling home in 26th, J.M. Littman and Henrik Still 27th, Duncan Hausman 28th, Andy Merrick 30th, some big names a long way down the order in a really odd race that perhaps for some never really got into a proper rhythm because of the safety cars, and especially with the safety cars affecting when you could take advantage of the pit window, which certainly went against the Pro-Ams because they had the later slot, but then it will be jumbled again going into the second race. So quite a few drivers and cars and teams not getting to the end, and therefore with damage that needs to be sorted. Podium is being made ready. The drivers will make their way up there very shortly. Some very happy fans enjoying this great selection of GT cars. And for Wiltra Gerther, Stuart Middleton, it is a 2nd victory in 3 races, so a great start to the season. They will make their way shortly up to the podium, and as they do so, let's catch up on the highlights of what was certainly a very lively first GT4 European Series race. It began with this monster field pouring into Paddock Hill-Bandon. Drama lower down the order straight away for the Marcus Pavarud Mercedes that ended up smokily making its way towards Paddock. Jörg Wiebahn was on his toes straight away, launching himself up the inside and gaining track position as well as they went through Druids. Finlay Hutchinson's McLaren on the outside line, a car that would have a rather significant part to play late race for all the wrong reasons, sadly. Then there was drama as Gottfried Pilz was turned around, others scattered in avoidance, and there was more contact lower down in the pack that brought out the safety car, take 1, and Mike Newbold's car out of the race, and so too also was the Chevrolet Camaro of Rolf Nathan. Drama then for the BMW. Off into the gravel bed went Gwenal Delomier, and also off Louis Floss over at Hawthorns, that car into the gravel as well as debris scattered into the face of Jörg Wiebahn. 2nd safety car period therefore required. Some were able to take advantage of the pit window being open, including the leading Ginetta, Stuart Middleton, in for Wiltra Gerther. He was able to maintain the advantage ahead of a change of place behind as the KTM of now Laura Kreihammer got back up the order, but the one to watch was the number 10 McLaren, Ricardo van der Ende at the wheel. He'd taken over from Finlay Hutchinson, and on the restart of the race was straight back into the mix. He tried to gain track position going up towards Druids, so also did Max Kubolt on the inside of Nikolai Müller-Madsen. But it was down at Hawthorns where Lara Kreihammer moved across on the McLaren. The car was spat across the gravel and bang into the barriers. So with the barrier damaged, Ricardo van der Ende okay. The race was taken behind the safety car to 75%, and then the red flag waved to stop the race, but full points to be awarded after a lengthy safety car period and a win for the Ginetta squad of Stuart Middleton and Will Tregurtha. They will make their way up to the podium very shortly, and the teams at the end of what was certainly a dramatic race, with now quite a bit of work to do before we get to the second instalment later on in the afternoon. The race due to get underway at 25 minutes past, or we're on air rather, at 25 minutes past 2 local time. Race will start at 14:35 local time, and we're 10 past 11 here as the barbecues are lit at Brands Hatch for either a late breakfast or an early lunch. So we'll get the drivers up there very shortly, and for the GT4 teams there will be not only the race presentations but also Satina watches to be given to Marcus Lundstrass, to Nicholas Schurl and Stuart Middleton as class pole position award winners as well. Satina part of the Swatch group, as is Blancpain, and energetic supporters of motorsport, having been the timing partner of a number of championships and indeed World Rally Championship over the years, but now lending its name to the GT4 European Series. So we wait the drivers for the podium. And there you can see some of the Ferraris that are on display here behind the pit straight. There's a wide variety of supercars and hypercars as well, even. Supercars get quicker, they go to the hypercar category. And the annual visit of the Blancpain GT Series to Brands Hatch, attracting a busy audience today to come and have a look at some fine racing. It's just a great shame that that race has ended up truncated, and of course now the barrier needs sorting out as well. And as the drivers make their way to the podium, we'll look forward to your company later on in the day for race 2. 25 past 2 local time, we'll be back for that. For now though, from Brands Hatch, from David Addison, it's goodbye.